Okay, we're going to have a little look today at factorising some harder quadratics, okay? By that I mean that the number in front of the x squared, as you can see from these questions, is no longer a 1, okay? So this becomes a harder type of quadratic. So there are two specific methods really, or two main methods, so when you Google this, that's what you'll find. So the first method is quite a long method, but it's one traditionally taught at school, okay? But I will show you a quicker way to do it as well, which is method 2. So the first method at the top, we're going to take the first number and the last number, and we're going to multiply those two things together, okay? So we're going to create like a little workings column, and we're going to multiply the first and the last number together. So we're going to do 2 times 2, which is going to give me that 4, okay? Then we're going to think about factors of 4. So we could have 4 and 1, or we could have 2 and 2, okay? Now we're trying to make the number that's in the middle. So it's the same process as before. We're trying to make that 5x, okay? So I would choose that 4 and that 1. So I would be saying that 4x plus 1x is going to make that 5x that lies in the middle of that expression, okay? Now what we're going to do next is actually rewrite the question. So we're going to keep the 2x squared at the front exactly the same, but instead of that 5x, we are actually going to write it as that. So we're going to write 4x plus 1x using that pair that we chose, okay? So we're going to write 4x plus 1x, and then we've got that plus 2 that is actually still on the end, okay? Then we're going to split it down the middle, and we're going to factorise this side and factorise the right-hand side. So 2 separate factorising, okay? Okay, so we're going to think about now of factorising that side first. So we're thinking of what they've got in common. So they both got a 2, they both go into 2, and they both also have the letter x. So if we factorise that, that's what would go on the outside of the bracket. Then I would be left with an x on the inside. Putting 2x and x together gives me 2x squared. And then thinking if I take out a factor of 2 from that 4, I'm still left with 2, and that x is then also on the outside, okay? Now then if we look at the left-hand side separately, you'll notice the numbers are a 1 and a 2, and neither of them have a letter in common, okay? So actually the only number that they've got in common is actually 1. So we're going to take that outside, and I would then be left with x plus 2 on the inside. Now what you should notice is both of these brackets should be the same, okay? And they have to be the same in order for this method to work, okay? So we're going to look at the stuff that's on the outside of the bracket. So I've got 2x and I've got plus 1. So I'm going to put those two together first. Then my second bracket becomes the one that's been repeated, okay? So we have factorised 2x squared plus 5x plus 2 into 2 brackets. If you want to check, you can use FOIL to expand those two things, and you will get back to that original expression. Okay, let's have a look at another example then, okay guys? So we're going to do the same process, take the first number and the last number and multiply those two things together. So we're going to multiply the 2 and 15 together to give us 30. Then we're going to think about factors of 30. So I could have 30 and 1, 10 and 3, I could have 6 and 5, and I could also have 15 and 2, okay? Now we're trying to make 7, so we're going to pick a pair that does actually make 7. So I would be thinking in some way I could use 10 and 3 to make 7. So I'd probably have to do 10x, take away 3x, and that would give me my 7x, okay? Then we're going to think about rewriting the actual question. So the front bit stays the same. So you got your 2y squared. Now instead of 7y, we are going to rewrite it using our 10 and our 3, okay? So we're going to have our 10y at the front. Then we're going to say take away 3y. That's going to make my 7y in the middle. And don't forget about that minus 15 on the end is still there, okay? Similarly, we're going to split it down the middle. And then we're going to factorise the left-hand side and factorise the right-hand side both separately. So we're going to think about what they've got in common. They both go into 2, and then they both got a letter y as well. So that's going to go on the outside. Then I'm going to be left with a y on the inside, and then plus 5, okay? If you want to expand that bracket, you do get back to that expression, okay? Next, we're going to think about factorising this side. Now, they both actually go into minus 3, so we're going to take that on the outside. Then we're going to think about what needs to go on the inside. So y is still going to go there. Putting those two together, I get minus 3y. Now be careful here. We know 3 goes into 15 5 times, so that's going to give us a 5. Now this bracket and this bracket have to be the same, okay? So this has to be a plus 5. Now just to check, minus 3 multiplied by plus 5 does give me minus 15, okay? So it does work. Then everything you've got on the outside of your bracket, that's your 2y and your minus 3. That's going to make the first bracket. And then the one that's repeating, that's the y plus 5. That makes our second bracket. Okay, let's have a look at method 2. Okay, now method 2 is actually called by inspection. So that kind of means a bit of guessing. And it relies on you understanding what's happening with FOIL and expanding your brackets also, okay? So if we have a look, first of all, we're going to think of factors or pairs of numbers that make 3. So that would be 3 and 1. Then we're going to do the same with the 8. We're going to think of pairs of numbers and multiply together to make 8. So we could have 4 and 2 or 8 and 1, okay? So we're going to start by opening up those double brackets. We're going to put 3y at the front and 1y at the front. Those multiplied together would give us 3y squared. Then we need to think about which pair I'm going to put at the end of my brackets. Now, as a kind of rule, I would always try the pair that's closest together first. Now, it doesn't always work, but 90% of the time you will find that's the pair that does work, okay? So if we're going to think about putting a 2 there and a 4 there, for example, I need to try and make plus 10. So with this method, you're always thinking about these two parts of your brackets when you're multiplying them, okay? So if I was to multiply these two bits together, I get 2y. If I multiply the two things on the outside, I would get 12y. Then you have to ask yourself, can you use those two things, 12y and 2y, in order to make 10y? Well, yes, you can. You can have a positive 12 plus 12. You can then subtract 2 from it, and that does give you a positive 10. Job done. There are your two brackets. Let's do one more, okay? So first of all, we're thinking about pairs of numbers that make 6. So you've got 3 and 2, or we could have 6 and 1. Then likewise, pairs that make 10. So we could have 10 and 1 or 5 and 2. Then you're going to open up your brackets. Now, like I said, we're going to try the pair that's closest together first. So we're going to try the 3 and the 2. Doesn't mean it's going to work. It might not, but we'll give it a go. Then we're also going to pick the pair that's closest together there, okay? So we're going to try the 5 and the 2. Now, we're relying on thinking about this bit and this bit of our brackets to try and make 11, okay? So if, for example, I was going to put 2 there and 5 there inside my bracket, that would give me 4w and 15w. So I've got to ask myself then, can I use 15 and 4 in order to make 11? Well, actually, yes, I can. 15 and taking away 4 from it does give me 11. So I know that's the right way around. I'm going to put the 5 there and the 2 there. Now I want to think about my signs. I want to try and make minus 11, negative 11. So I need to start on minus 15, because that's those two bits put together. Then if I go back up my number line 4, multiplying those two together, I actually get my minus 11w. Job done.